How are you going to reinvent yourself in 2025? Or how are you going to make 2025 your best year? Welcome to Running Your Best Life, the podcast where we go beyond the miles and into what really makes life worth running for. I'm your host, Victor Vizcaino, and I'm joined by my amazing co host, Adele Bonaos. Together, we'll help you discover how running can be a vehicle for transformation physically, mentally, emotionally, and even spiritually.
Hey everyone, I'm Adele. I'm a high performance coach and a lifelong runner. I got to tell you, I even have my runner sweatshirt on today. Here on Running Your Best Life, we bring you the best principles and practices and the wisdom that we have gathered from years of running to not only elevate your running, but to help you create a life that feels as fulfilling as crossing your dream finish line.
Whether you're training for your first 5K, chasing a marathon PR, or simply looking to make running a tool for personal growth, this podcast is for you. Our goal is to help you integrate your running journey with the habits, mindset, and balance you need to thrive.
Each episode, we will share some of our real life experiences and insights and some expert advice and some good inspiring stories that will empower you to run strong, live intentionally, and embrace a holistic approach to life.
So lace up those shoes and join us as we explore how truly run your best life. Let's get started.
Let's get started. I got my shoes all laced up, ready to go, Victor.
All right. And today, what we're going to do is going to discuss one of the videos from Dr. Kim Foster, who talks about uh, the ultimate guide of reinventing yourself. And she starts by the first point is with identity. What is your identity, and how does that play out, and how does that relate to running? Do you want to get us started, Adele, with what do you think of the identity part, and do you have an example of how that's worked for your life?
Well, I got a
Your
lot more years of wisdom than you. And I'll tell you honestly, it's really a key to believe in yourself to create the identity as a runner. And a lot of people will go out and they'll run for years but they'll never believe I am a runner. And one of the biggest things to identify as a runner is that one, you're out there doing it. Whatever your choices are, you're putting on your shoes, you're out there walking, running, whatever it is you're actually doing. Believe that that's part of your identity now. I am a runner. When you have a goal to run a race or participate in some running type of experience, you join because you're running, because you are a runner. Key is that you believe in it. And one of the things that I learned many, many years ago as I started on my running journey, and I was a lot younger, I used it, as I mentioned in one of our earlier podcasts, to really be conditioned and strong and have a lot of endurance because I was a champion tennis player. And long distance runners usually rarely get beaten on a tennis court. No matter how long it takes to win a match, you're out there for the endurance. I kept telling myself I'm a tennis player because I was a very accomplished and champion tennis player. The running came second to that, and then all of a sudden, it became one of the major parts of my identity because what it brought to me in all the other parts of my life. So, as a runner, I had the opportunity to believe I could do almost anything if I could lace up my shoes, walk out my door, get a run that transformed me mentally and spiritually. I could come in and conquer my day. And that led to that belief that I am a runner. So that's one of the key things.
Yeah, true. That is so true. And I can think of my own example when I was trying to qualify for the Boston Marathon and having to identify with elite running. I heard from somebody say that if I qualified for the Boston Marathon, I would be considered an elite runner. And that was a tough one for me. It was like, oh, that's all I have to do. But in my mind, I had to qualify first to identify as an elite. And it wasn't until I convinced myself and said, you know what, I am an elite runner and I
Mhm.
will qualify, that those changes and the things I had to do, I did them because I identified with that person.
I think too, a lot of us in all parts of our lives, Victor, we tend to have what's called in the personal development and the wellness and health and wellness industry, limiting beliefs, and we tend to believe that things we've already done, we've all always done the same way, keep us in the same frame of reference, no matter what we do with our lives. Each day we move forward, and that's one of the biggest things about believing that you're a runner, because you're putting the time and the effort and the intention there, which can remove any limiting beliefs that I'm not a runner, or I'm not an athlete, or I'm slow, or I'm fast, or I don't want to do what everybody else does. It's okay. If you hold on to what you truly believe that you can accomplish and what you have in your heart to go out and do, you can start to really decrease those limiting beliefs to where they don't keep you from achieving something new in your life. And then you can
Yeah.
believe, I can go out the store, I can lace up my shoes, I can run 10 miles on New Year's Day and start all of my years off with a really cleansing, energizing, intentional run. I will make it to that 5K with my family. I will make it to that marathon distance one day. Those become very positive, concrete beliefs. And I think that becomes a huge part of our running identity that also transforms into all the other parts of our lives, our transformational life as well. We become stronger. We become courageous in what we try to do. We become all these different things that one belief that I'm a runner can lead us to accomplish other things in the other areas of our lives as well, which is key, very key.
Absolutely. And I love how Dr. Foster talks about neuroplasticity supports the idea that consistent thoughts and beliefs rewire the brain. So
Yes.
when I thought about that, when I said, okay, so that's exactly what I've been doing when I go on my runs. And that's why I love affirmations while you're running, because that means that our neuroplasticity is not just working on our muscles and our all of our um, uh, the body system, the physicality,
Mhm.
but also the brain is rewiring, because it's where you can have that self dialogue that's going to build on other areas, whatever it is that you need to work, or whether it's specifically when you're running and it's about running, or you're running and you are addressing other issues in your life. The way you do that self dialogue that's in a more creative and productive way, that's going to rewire you in a much, I feel anyway, that it's going to be more amplifying, because you're doing it while the brain is working on your physicality, and you're putting a lot of oxygen and all these happy
Right.
chemicals into your brain,
Right.
knowing that it is rewiring.
Well, and there's a science basis to that too, as you're referring to Dr. Foster. Those neurotransmitters, they wire and they send all those impulses and all that information and all that energy, so that all of a sudden, every part of you is involved intentionally in that one unique thing that you're doing if you're running. But you're also got the mental part. I'm looking ahead. I'm focusing on what I'm doing. I'm feeling my breath. All those neurotransmitters also create those really good feelings we have, dopamine and all those. Whoo, I feel great doing this. You get that runner's high, so to speak. You can do that in other areas of your life, but just remember there is a science base to these beliefs as well, as Victor is referring to. And when your brain can start to control everything else that's working together, both the physical part of what you're doing, the breathing, as we mentioned, but just remember that that also transfers to those intangibles. It, the spiritual part of your running, what it actually means to you, how it transforms what you think you can accomplish and how you can move forward. Also, that you believe that your body can do it, your mind can do it, your heart can do it. Bring the whole package with you. And I think that's a huge part of the belief system as well.
That's so true. And also, what do you think about adopting the ultra ego that Dr. Foster talks about?
I think why don't you explain a little bit what that might mean to some of our listeners when you adopt an alter ego say in your running life or other things that you're trying to accomplish?
Well, I think a lot about when I was a kid, and when you put that cape on and you're assuming that you're Superman. You did feel that energy, that extra hump on doing things and having more fun. I think that when you are nervous or you're having self doubt, it might be helpful to adopt an alter ego at that moment, just to overcome that part. It's not to get too involved to where you feel that imposter syndrome, but
Right,
more of getting that energy, that spirit. I think you and I talked about, for example, with Michael Phelps, that
right,
when you go out on a swim, for example, in a triathlon, you're not going to, you're not going to perform like Michael Phelps, but you can emulate his level of confidence and apply it to your own race and how you are going to perform uh, based on that confidence of what you trained for.
right. And I love that analogy because just recently, we're very familiar with the topic of the concept, excuse me, of visualization, and I think visualization kind of follows a little bit on adopting an alter ego too. As you mentioned, you can kind of see yourself finishing strong in the pool if you're swimming or you're doing an Ironman. How do I train and achieve that? Visualize a little bit. Look at the Superman part of Michael Phelps, what he put into it. Can I adapt that to my training? And using that as an example, alter ego, so to speak. I love that because just recently I was doing a training run, and I know I'm going to have a little bit of a setback because some things happening in my life in this next week. It's going to slow me down a little bit. Can't get out and do quite as much as I do on a regular basis for about a week or so. But what I wanted to do this past weekend was just give everything I got in the last couple of miles of a run. And the beauty of it is I got started. I took a break after the 5 mile mark, used the restroom as we all us runners do, and I got started and I focused on. I actually closed my eyes and focused on the finish line of a race I've been at now for 12 years. It's the Louisiana Marathon weekend, 5K, quarter marathon, mile for kids, half marathon, and marathon. I've been at that race every year since its inception, and I usually run the 5K or quarter marathon and then the half marathon. Now, this year and last year, I'm doing only the race on Saturday, which is the quarter marathon. I do not have the opportunity to do the half marathon as well this time coming around for just different reasons, but I will be at that race. I focused so well in my mind. I was running over the last overpass, down the street, rolling street, a little bit up and down North Boulevard, and the finish line is the Louisiana State Capitol in Baton Rouge. And I know that street so well. So those 2 miles are ingrained in my being for now 12 years. And I just pushed and pushed, and I was focusing on the finish line of the 13.1 mile marathon. That visualization allowed me to be that superhuman Adele finishing the half marathon, that alter ego of me finishing and like, whoa, breaking the tape. That's a huge benefit to the alter ego concept, to the visualization concept. I want to make our listeners aware, though, that you don't want to use this concept as a distraction to what you're doing, too, which, as Victor mentioned, once you get too overwhelmed by it, you tend to believe in a way that you're that person, but your body and your mental adaptability to that are not at that same level as, say, the Michael Phelps. I'm not going to swim like Michael Phelps or Dana Torres, who were my heroes in the pool, but I can try to achieve their sense of training discipline and their sense of accomplishment when they achieved a goal and got to a speed when they hit the wall that they wanted to for a distance. But I don't want to believe that I'm all about them and I am them, because that could be a distraction to how you continue to develop your training. So use it in the positive, not in the negative as a distraction or to overwhelm you in any way. And what do you think about that, Victor? I know we talked about that a little bit prior to coming on about the distraction that it could cause.
Yes, we have to be aware of. They still have to have a strategy, especially if you're doing an
Mhm.
endurance sport where it takes discipline to slow down, to conserve your energy. So you still have to work at your own, be aware of your own training and follow your plan, even though you are using the ultra ego to energize you, but not to push beyond the pace that your body's going to collapse or it's going to blow up, as like I like to mention it. Uh,
Right, right. Yeah.
you know, you have to
It's a
be,
crazy visualization, isn't it?
yes. And it's very common even among professionals to, uh, when they're competing,
Mhm.
to push a little bit overboard because they're trying to win the race and they maybe go out of their own um, capabilities or their own training, what they've been prepared for.
Right. I wrote something down when I was going over my notes to prepare for our session today. And one of the things I wrote down is by Steve Prefontaine. And if anybody knows who Pre is, he's one of my favorite runners, favorite inspirational running figures and athletic figures of all time who ran without limits. And if you know his story, he was the runner that encouraged the creation of the Nike shoe by Bill Bowerman, his coach. Ran in Oregon. He died in an accident, way too young, but just is incredibly gifted, but also very spiritual and arrogant kind of individual because he his comment was, "Run fearless and without regret. To give anything less than your best is to sacrifice your gift." And when you're going through this alter ego concept and you're following some of the inspirational people, whether it's a runner or someone in your life, a parent, or someone who's really been empowering, encouraging to you, remember that it's still you putting the action into it and putting the intention into it. You don't have to become them. You want to aspire to achieve and be like them, but not be them. Be your own runner and run with your limits, but run without regret and don't give anything less than your gift. So I thought that might be a little addition to that concept.
Yes, yes. Thank you for sharing that. Mm. And the next point that she makes is
Mhm.
having the, or what she calls it, curate a reinforcing environment.
Right.
So that to me means you surround yourself with the people that are going to support your goals. And when it comes to running, that would be so important to join a running group, to be constantly surrounded by other runners who are going to encourage you and feel that inspiration. I think it makes a big difference. It's always made a big difference when I've joined, whether it's a running club or a triathlon club, having those people around. And also for, you kind of have to, you may have to eliminate some of your old identity that reinforces the old identity. For example, if one of your reinventing is giving up drinking, but you're still hanging out at the bar, and it's going to be much harder than if now you hang around with a running group.
Right. Well, and also too, if you remember, we talked about this in our holiday, how to run through the holiday in our different podcasts about that. You tend to change your groups when you get into an activity, or a lot of times when you get into a job situation, those people you work with a lot become a lot of your contact and connecting groups, right? When you become a runner, which we are believing we are runners because we are, you tend to fluctuate into the groups of runners around the park, getting into a running group that in your community. You tend to show up at the running groups that they have during the week at maybe the different running stores or the running outlets that promote things with the schools and everything else. And they have these groups that anybody can show up and meet. They tend to become your most consistent connections, right? Okay, we're going to go for a 10-mile run on Saturday, training for the half marathon coming up in a couple months. Come join us. We run all different paces. I picked up most of my friends on the street running. Most of my very close friends. Hey,
Yeah.
come on, run with me. And these are 25, 30-year friends now, even longer than that. But the key is that when your environment changes, you want it to be supportive and encouraging. And as Victor mentioned, you tend to release those things that don't support or encourage this new part of your life. And remember that your running life is a transformational tool to the other parts of your life as well. If you become very accomplished and very satisfied with how you're developing your running life, you tend to use those positives and those skills in your personal life with relationships and in your maybe professional life with the business. If you own a business, you'll tend to use those positive discipline tactics to really promote success there as well, and in your relationships. So you want to make sure that in all of these environments that you encompass around your running life, that you keep them empowering and positive and encouraging. Anything beyond that, you tend to start releasing that. And I think that's key to transforming not only your running life, but the other parts of your life that you're trying to improve and develop.
Yes, true, true. Now, I am going to encourage everybody to commit to actionable steps today to start that reinvention of the journey. And since we cater a lot to the runners, and but it doesn't have to be necessarily a runner, just someone who is committed to reinforcing is take action. In this case, I would encourage someone to sign up for a 5K, a 10K,
Mhm.
and identify yourself as a runner. And if you want to step it up and get a bigger challenge that's going to make call for more actions, I would, you may want to sign up for even a marathon. It just has to be with more time. If you're just coming out of the couch or off the couch, I mean, then you're going to start running and you want to sign up for a marathon, it should be at least 6 months to a year.
Mhm.
But if you're already in shape, then sign up for a marathon. If you already done a half marathon, for example, you can sign up for a marathon that's 3 months, 4 months away, or a 16-week training plan that, which is what I have in my website. Is you can download one of those free training plans that will get you ready on a 16 weeks and follow that. But yeah, definitely, I think they should commit to something. What is your take, Adele? What do you want to encourage?
Well, I think that's a great idea. And just remember, y'all, you don't have to be a runner just to listen to us and take some of our advice. If you're just looking for something, when I say just, I usually eliminate that. But when I say just, I'm comparing that to someone starting out on a fitness and health journey compared to an experienced runner or athlete that is looking to go to the next level. And of course, we offer all of that information to everyone. If you are finished raising your children, if you're a woman maybe in her 30s or 40s and the kids are getting a little bit bigger and you want to do something for you and you choose to go on a health and fitness journey, start walking, get our information, start moving. Look toward a 5K or even a 1 or 2 mile run that you might do at your church or the children's schools or in a community that empowers the women in your lives, that you have a little group, and get some people to go out and just lace up their shoes and start there. The key to doing that is you make intentional commitment. And when you have those other people with you, as Victor said, if you're starting at that point and you fall in love with the camaraderie and the support and the achievement of doing it, your commitment goes off the charts and you start to do a little bit more and a little bit more. All of a sudden, you are running that 10K at the Crescent City Classic for the first time in New Orleans with all of your friends because it's a great city to be at because it's mine. And then all of a sudden, you say, wow, I'm turning 40 or I'm turning 45. My kids are finishing high school. I'm turning 50. I got the first one finishing college. Whatever the reason is, you have a lofty goal out there to say, I'm going to run my first half marathon. And I'd love my friends from my running community or other moms or maybe family members for whatever reason to come along with me. You make a commitment and you have the accountability with other people too. So that's huge. That marathon distance can be very scary, as you know, Victor, the first time around. I'm not going to kid you. The reason I did my first marathon was because I was running. I was a cancer patient at the time. Um, I was also running to support my competitive tennis. As I mentioned before, I was a championship level tennis player. And the running gave me the sanity and the confidence that I could get through those really struggling times during the 10 years that I battled the cancer. The running saved my life. That for me was a huge part of running that first marathon. And if you've heard my story before, I achieved my very first clear biopsy 10 years into a journey at the age of 40 And a month after my 40th birthday, I ran my first marathon in New Orleans. I've run 12, but I cried the whole last 3 or 4 miles in because I was alive. I was alive and I had a mission and a story to keep going. That is my story, and I could do it because I can. Sometimes it's the only reason you need because I can. Everyone has another personal story or another reason. Sometimes it is just because I can. And when Victor says, if you want to do it, we can help you get there, both on the physical part of training, obviously, with that 16-week plan to get you going, but the physical part of how much you're going to run, how do you want to do some strength training, how are you going to rest, how are you going to eat and learn the nutrition and the hydration, the best balances, how your body's going to change, how you will transform, how you need to sleep, how you need to rest. We got all that ready for you. The other thing is find out why you want to do it and set a goal to do it and make that commitment. But get your environment to support you, which is people, places, things, and anything else you want to include in your environment, that they will encourage you, buy you that race entry, give it to you as a gift, and you will have the focus to achieve your goal and the help you need to get there. And rely on us in every way you can, please. We'd love to help everyone achieve that one goal that they have just for them.
Yes, and I second that. And I think that if you've listened to this podcast, you're one of those people who are ready to reinvent yourself, to make New Year's resolution that are going to count. And I invite you to do it through running. I think that's
Mhm.
an awesome tool to use to reinforce those changes you are wanting to make. Make the commitment, start a running group, sign up for a race, whatever it is that's going to make you take action, or reach out to us for help, and we will help you get there.
Definitely.
You can go to eymcoaching.com to download that free plan that gets you started.
Right. And you'll have that in some of our show notes, right? Like you do every time, Victor.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
yeah,
On the show notes, we'll have the website. We'll have how to reach Adele with her email. Reach out to any of our platforms where you listen to this podcast, or also you can reach on any of the social medias, maybe
hmm
Facebook or any instant messaging, and we'll get back to you.
right, definitely. And please, y'all, remember it is the beginning of a new year. And just because it's a brand new year doesn't mean that it starts on January 2nd. January 1st is 2025. It's just in a couple of days. And look at it that way too. Remember your mindset. I'm starting a new day. Sure, if you go out and celebrate a little bit on New Year's Eve, that's fine. Look at your New Year's Day as the beginning of your journey. And remember, your journey is just yours. We'd love to take you along on a successful journey. So please keep us in your mind and in your heart and know that you always have our support.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. And we're always open to suggestions. So if you can leave a comment on another, either another video that you watch that we want to incorporate into how we can apply it to running, because that's what we're doing quite a bit of.
Mhm.
We watch something that we like, we will analyze some of the most famous podcasts, and then see how we can incorporate that into our running. That's some of the
Well,
things that we're doing.
right. And we'll have some new concepts as we go along. But with your suggestions, if there's anything that you're really interested in learning about, let's just take hydration, for example. Please give us a heads up. We'll put together some good information for you that we can present to everyone and be beneficial to all included.
Well, thank you, everyone. Have an awesome, happy new year, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Sounds great, everybody. Happy New Year. See you soon.
Don't